The town of Ashwick sat hidden deep within the cold pine forests of Oregon, USA. Outsiders rarely visited the place. The only road leading into town was a winding mountain route that was always covered in thick fog, especially after 9 p.m. The people there followed one strange rule. After midnight, if you hear 3 knocks at the door, never open it. No one explained why. It was simply passed down from generation to generation like a warning. November 2019. Ethan Walker, a 27-year-old freelance photographer from California, was driving across the country to create a photo series about forgotten American towns. He loved abandoned places, decaying buildings, and anything with an eerie atmosphere. The moment he saw Ashwick on the map, he became fascinated. Perfect for Halloween, he thought. By the time Ethan arrived, it was nearly 7 p.m. Light rain drizzled over the empty streets. The entire town glowed under pale yellow street lights. Something felt wrong. The streets were almost deserted. No children. No barking dogs. No music from bars like in most small towns. Only the sound of wind screaming through the trees. He parked in front of an old motel called Black Pine Inn. The neon sign outside flickered constantly, like it was about to die. Inside the reception area sat a thin old woman with white hair and hollow eyes that looked like she had not slept in years. "Any rooms available?" Ethan asked. The woman stared at him for several seconds before replying. "You should not stay here." Ethan laughed lightly. "I am only staying for one night." Without another word, she handed him the key to room 12. "After midnight. Do not open the door for anyone." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "No matter who it is." The old woman said nothing. Room 12 was at the very end of the hallway. The wallpaper peeled from the walls, and the ceiling light buzzed constantly. But to Ethan, everything looked perfect. For vintage horror photography. He spent hours taking pictures. 11 p.m. The rain became heavier. Ethan sat on the bed editing photos on his laptop when he heard the distant sound of a train whistle echoing somewhere deep in the forest. Long. Cold. Unnatural. He pulled back the curtain. Outside was nothing but thick white fog. Then his phone vibrated. Unknown number. He answered. Silence. After several seconds, a woman whispered. "Don't let it in." The line disconnected. Ethan frowned. What the hell? He tried calling back, but the number did not exist. 7 a.m. Knock. 3 knocks echoed through the room. Ethan froze and stared at the door. "Hello." No answer. He slowly approached and looked through the peephole. A woman stood outside in the hallway. She wore an old red coat, and long black hair covered most of her face. But something about her was deeply disturbing. She stood completely still. No movement. No breathing. Not even shivering in the freezing cold. Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. "What do you want?" A soft voice came from outside. "Please, let me in." Ethan remembered the old woman's warning. "Don't open the door." He stepped back. "I am calling the police." The woman remained silent for a moment, before whispering again. "He is coming." Suddenly. Bang. A massive crash echoed from the far end of the hallway. like something huge had slammed against the wall. The hallway lights flickered violently. The woman outside began trembling. "Please." Her voice now sounded terrified. "Don't let him see me." Bang. Another crash. Closer this time. Then came the sound of something dragging slowly across the floor. "SRAP. SRAP. SRAP." The woman whispered frantically. "He is here." The lights went out. The hallway disappeared into darkness. Ethan swallowed hard. He looked through the peephole again. The woman was gone. The hallway was empty. Only the flickering emergency light at the far end remained. And then he saw it. A figure stood at the corner of the hallway. At least 7 feet tall. Its body was impossibly thin. Its neck unnaturally long. Its arms nearly touched the floor. It stood motionless. Head lowered. Face hidden. Ethan stopped breathing. Slowly, the creature lifted its head. White eyes stared directly into the peephole. A smile stretched across its face far too wide to be human. Creak. It began walking toward his room. Slowly. Dragging its feet. Ethan stumbled backward, his heart pounding violently. What the hell is that? Knock. 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 This time the knocking came directly from his door. But it was no longer the woman's voice. A deep, raspy male voice spoke. "Open the door." Ethan froze. "I know you are watching." Knock. 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 "Open it." The door began shaking slightly. Ethan rushed forward and locked the second latch before backing into the corner of the room. The knocking stopped. Silence. Complete silence. Then soft laughter echoed from the other side of the door. A horrible laugh. Not human. It sounded like metal scraping against glass. Ethan grabbed his phone and dialed 911. No signal. No Wi-Fi. No internet. Everything was dead. Then from beneath the crack under the door, a black shadow began seeping into the room. Like smoke. But thicker. Alive. It crawled slowly across the floor. Ethan screamed and smashed a wooden chair against it. The shadow instantly vanished. The laughter outside stopped. Then came the sound of footsteps walking away. Slow. Dragging. SRAP. 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 5 minutes later, another knock came. Gentler this time. "Are you still alive?" It was the old woman from the front desk. Ethan rushed to open the door. The hallway was empty again. The old woman stood there holding a shotgun. "Come with me." Ethan's voice trembled. What was that thing? The woman glanced toward the dark hallway. "It has returned." They hurried downstairs into the motel basement. The room was filled with candles, crosses, and circles of white salt drawn across the floor. Ethan was nearly losing his mind. "You need to explain this." The old woman stayed silent for several seconds before speaking. 30 years ago, there was a massacre in this town. According to her, in 1989 a man named Elias Crow lived alone in the northern forest outside Ashwick. He had once been a priest but was exiled from the church after performing strange Rituals. People said Elias believed he could call angels down from heaven. But what he summoned was not an angel. One winter night, his entire family was found dead inside their cabin. Police ruled it a murder-suicide. But the bodies had no eyes. Their mouths had been torn open. And written in blood across the walls were the words, "He let me in." After Elias died, people in town began disappearing. The survivors all described the same thing. Midnight. 3 knocks at the door. If you opened it, it would come inside. And no one would ever see you again. Ethan turned pale. Then why does anyone still live here? The old woman smiled sadly. Because we can't leave. What do you mean? She did not answer. Suddenly, a violent crash exploded. Upstairs, bang. Glass shattered. Then came footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Walking around the motel. The old woman immediately blew out the lantern. Stay quiet. The footsteps stopped directly above them. Scratch. Scratch. Like fingernails dragging across wooden floors. Ethan held his breath. Then a voice echoed from above. Margaret. The old woman trembled. I know you are down there. The voice sounded distorted, as if many people were speaking at once. Let me in. Boom. The basement door shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Boom. The second hit was stronger. Ethan saw the lock bending. The old woman whispered prayers under her breath. Boom. The basement door burst open. Freezing air flooded the room. The creature stood at the top of the stairs. Towering. Its skin pale white. Its mouth stretched to both sides of its face. Its eyes empty and colorless. It crawled down the stairs on all fours. Like a spider. Ethan screamed. The old woman fired the shotgun. Blam. Part of the creature's head exploded. But right before Ethan's eyes, its flesh began regenerating. The creature smiled. A twisted, horrifying smile. You still do not understand, Margaret. I cannot die. It lunged forward. The old woman shoved Ethan backward. Run. Ethan sprinted through a hidden tunnel. Behind the basement. The old woman's screams echoed behind him, then suddenly stopped. He ran through freezing darkness until he finally emerged into the forest behind the motel. Rain poured heavily from the sky. He searched desperately for his car, but the town was gone. No motel. No streets. No lights. Only endless forest. And thick fog. Then behind him came the sound. Knock. 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 Ethan slowly turned around. The creature stood within the fog. Smiling. At last.